Alright guys, it's been a little while since I've been on the channel, and as you can tell, the black car is behind me. It's been a long time since we've had anything to do with the LS car, and I'm getting ready to explain the whole situation and why you haven't heard a whole lot about it. The car is back together. We did already swap a motor. I wish I'd have made videos of it, but I just didn't have time, and later on you'll understand why. It's got another 5.3 in it. It's a Gen 4, it's a LM7. It doesn't have the flat top pistons. It does have the dish ones, so it's about like a 9 to 1, 9.5, something like that compression, what it is from the factory. The cam from the other motor was good, so we ended up swapping it over. We ended up putting some different lifters in this one, and we did the BTR tuning upgrades. We also did, we also went to the ARP head studs rather than what we were running, which was the Chinese stuff. But anyways, with that being said, we'll get to the point of the video, and that is that this car is no longer going to be here with us. Basically, this project's over. The reason why we're getting rid of it is because I've totally lost interest in it, which kind of sucks in a way for my buddy, because Kevin, I think, still wants to race and do all that things, and if he really wanted to do that, I guess he could just take it to the shop and keep running it, which would be no big deal to me. But instead, he has another project that he's working on, which is a dragster, and I think he wants to swap motors in it or something. And the reason why I've lost all my inspiration, or if you want to say it like that, is that I never really wanted to do an LS swap. I'm not a big swap person per se. I don't care if it's a Ford and a Chevy, or a Chevy and a Ford, or anything. I'm not a big fan of it. It doesn't do anything for me. But about 3 years ago, my buddy Kevin came up to me and asked me, hey, I got this Mustang, you want to do something with it with me? And I was like, okay. And he's a big Chevy guy, and my cousin Adam had approached me and said, my uncle has a Gen 3 5.3 that he'll sell you really cheap, which we got for $300. We put that in there and we went and ran it for the summer, and then that led us to the next winter where we actually went ahead and we bought better rear end parts and slowly upgraded things. Went to the Gen 4 bottom end in it, and then last year, as you've seen towards the end of the year, the 2018, it's 2019 now, but yeah, in 2018 at the end of summer, we blew that motor up. We have no idea what caused it. We tore it down. We've had other people look at it. We just think it was a failure, parts failure is all it was. I mean, there wasn't nothing tune related or nothing like that. We already know all that. And so basically, with me not being a big swap person, I didn't really enjoy the LS thing. Basically, I wanted to start it to help push this channel further for other people to come and see it, because it was the most popular thing going. And I think now that so many people are doing it, and YouTube is so flooded with LS swap this, LS swap that it's just become so stupid and crazy. And there's so many LS swap Mustangs. I mean, you can go around the corner and see them. There's more LS swap Mustangs than there is box body Mustangs running around with 302s in them now. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, the other day I was in Owensboro and I seen a Mustang and I heard it fire up and take off, and I just knew it was LS swap, because you could tell by the sound that made. It made nothing like the old 302 sound. And that kind of got under my skin, I guess you could say. And another thing is why do you want to spend money? I kept asking myself, why am I spending money and throwing money at something that I'm not super interested in, even though I've set a goal for myself was 5 seconds with this car. And I also crippled myself with this car by going non-intercooled and doing a few other things that I've kind of crippled myself by not going with the John Bewley Stage 2 turbo cam that everybody goes with. I kind of did my own camshaft and kind of threw it in there, and I probably hurt myself on that. The cam that's in it, guys, I don't know if you know this or not, but it's actually custom grind by Cam Motion, and it's a, what was it? It's 226 duration on the intake and 230 on the exhaust. and it's 605 lift and 595 lift, but it's on a 109 center line with a +3, which makes it a 106 intake center line. So it's a 109 lobe separation, my bad. And I'm not sure that's really the way to go with what we had going on. I'm sure it probably hurts a little bit, but really it should have helped us on the bottom end a little bit more than it did, and I don't feel like it did. Because that's the biggest complaint I had about the car is this car's always been lazy, and no matter what kind of tuning you did to it, it was just lazy. You could get aggressive down low with it, and the car was lazy. I didn't like it. But I basically am ready to see this car go, and that way I can concentrate on to my other Mustang, which is a mod motor car. And I actually got to drive it this year for the first time. It's been done for 4 years. I've drove it this year the most. And I drove it the most after this car blew up, because I had time to actually invest in doing something else other than constantly work on something like this. I was constantly working on this thing all the time. And to be honest with you, everybody does this LS swap stuff, and if you really talk to a lot of these guys that are actually fast with the LS stuff in the 1/4 mile or 1/8 mile, you'll find out real quick that the stuff does not really last as long as they say it does on Facebook and stuff, because what's going on behind the scenes that you're not seeing is that they're actually changing parts, changing things, and doing stuff on the side and not really letting that kind of information out. And that way it kind of makes them look a little bit better. Now, there's a couple of them that I've talked to that will swear up and down that they've never done anything, and one of them is Jonathan Capizzi. And that's amazing if he really has done all that, because that car it's insane. I watched the Bowling Green, it leaves harder than some of the cars that I've seen that are fully, just straight up race car style stuff, and his stuff leaves harder than all that shit. Like, it looks like, literally, when that car leaves the line, it looks like a rocket. It just works. That car is very impressive. If you ever get a chance to see that in person, you need to see that car in person. He's got that car working. But this car is going to go up the road. I've got another video I'm getting ready to do not too much longer after this one about the Holley EFI and why I used to suggest it to everybody, and now why I kind of may not. I've come across some things and that I don't really necessarily like about it, that I've had issues with, and they're really more like gremlins. And it seems like anytime I make a change on a car or something with the Holley EFI, kind of, not sure. And also another story about this car was when we were trying to get back together, the oil pump was a pain in the butt this time. I had to go to GM and get another O-ring for this thing. We tried to use the O-ring that came with this motor, but we did disassemble the front of it and everything, so we put the cam and everything in it, so we had to take the oil pump off, which meant we had to take the pickup tube out. And that O-ring wasn't sealing good, so I tried 2 other O-rings that I had that I knew worked previously, and they wouldn't work. It basically wasn't sucking no fluid up to the bottom of the pump, from the pan, and it was just a fucking O-ring. And I've had the oil pump out like 10-20 times. I also did the oil pump mod on this thing. If you don't know what the oil pump mod is, it's basically you got a relief screw on the oil pump, and you'll know what I'm talking about. If you take the oil pump off, you just take that hex head bolt out, and it'll be hollow inside of it. You just basically get some washers that actually fit that size, and then you shove them back up in there and screw the cap back on. I think a lot of people do about 100 thousandths is about what they do, is 100 thousandth shim. I think I went a little bit more than that, and just cranking the car over will build 30 pounds, so I don't know, it may shoot the fucking, I ain't fired the car up completely, so it might shoot the damn bearings completely out the side of the block. I don't know, we'll see. Other than that, I just wanted to give you guys an update. This is kind of long-winded. I'm also going to have another breakdown analysis of how much it costs to do this. It's not cheap. The junkyard stuff is not cheap, even if you go buy a motor for 500 bucks. And to be honest with you, if you add it all up, you could Coyote swap the car now. The Coyotes, the Gen 1s have come down. Now you can't go make 1,200 horsepower on stop block like you can this, because they have a sleeve issue, and basically when you get to a certain cylinder pressure level, they start having problems, because that's really what you got to watch out for, is the cylinder pressure level. That's what does it more than actual horsepower level. But it seems that the 1,000 horsepower area is about where it goes, is what everybody tends to say. And it's about $2,000 to have one sleeved. So if you can get a Gen 2, it's even better, because I know there's some Gen 2 guys out there making like $1,200 and they're fine. And I know the Gen 3, they're actually a step back, they're actually having issues with those. So if you can get a Gen 2, which is like, I think it's 15 to 17 or something like that. I'm not real positive, I have to look it up. But the Gen 1 stuff is out there now for about $800 to $1,000, which isn't bad. And if you, by the time you add up the cam, the valve springs, and all the stuff you do to these things, to throw them in, to be turbo ready and all that, you're basically gonna be at that price or above that price. Now, the Gen 1s will still run 8s. And what people need to realize is that to run 8 seconds in a quarter mile, you don't need to make 1,000 horsepower. You just don't need to make that kind of power at all. You know, you make about 650, 750, somewhere around there. You know, 650, the car weighs about 2,900, 3,000 pounds. Can touch the high 8-second area if you've got the car working in the short times. 750 at 3,300 pounds, I know for a fact at 3,300 pounds we'll go 860s without a problem, as long as your combination's right. So yeah, you got that. And you know, the other option is the Hemis, but the Hemis are still, I've seen a few Hemis like $1,500 or something like that, but the parts to put in them are ridiculous. I don't know why the Mopar tax is so expensive on it. Everybody knows the Mopar tax, and it's ridiculous. I mean, there's nothing special about it. It's stupid. But anyways, if you're new to the channel, just like and subscribe. If you stayed through all this blabbering, I appreciate it. I'm really trying to grow the channel, trying to grow my Instagram, hit the Instagram page up, Wilson and Cars. I've got a website coming before long. I'm working on it now. It'll probably be ready in the next month or so. It's gonna take a little time. It's gonna have tech tips and stuff like that, kind of like that oil pump tip I told you. It'll have some Holley tech tips, some Haltech tech tips and stuff like that. But stay tuned. This car is gonna leave. I'm gonna get some money from it, and I'm gonna introduce another car to the channel, which will be pretty interesting. And then I'm gonna start doing a lot of stuff on my other Mustang. And yeah, I appreciate everybody here. I appreciate you subscribing. If you don't care, hit the bell icon, and we'll talk at you later, guys.